Hearthstone announcement, there are upcoming arena changes. And for those of you who don't want to watch this entire video which summarizes the changes, here's a 10-second overview. Some cards are getting removed from the arena pool, notably some strong cards from the strongest classes, and many weak cards from the weakest classes. This is a stopgap measure until they implement something more secure. The basics are that arena is an important mode, and that they're hearing the complaints about how Arena seems to be three main classes of Mage, Rogue, and Paladin. They wanted to take a while to have a solution later, but apparently the outcry is big enough that they want to make some changes now. They're using one of the tools available to them right now, which is the ability to remove cards from Arena completely. Before you guys say Purify isn't good for anything, Purify is one of the greatest impact cards that Hearthstone has ever had. It's caused Hearthstone developers to make blogs, streamers and players to make videos. It's caused a whole bunch of memes. It let Blizzard realize they can remove certain cards from Arena, and that leads me to their solution, their temporary solution, I'm sure. This is very inelegant, I'm gonna say, clunky, but hey, for now, fine. So my suspicion on what they're doing in order to balance Arena is to take out cards that, when they're in a deck, they cause the deck to have a higher win percentage. And they didn't remove cards like Flame Strike because it's a catch-up card, it's a big iconic card, Backstab, True Silver Champion, are all cards that I anticipate are like really strong but aren't removed because they're iconic in the base set or something. So for Mage, the Torch, the Chugger, and the Summoner are all clearly strong cards. Snowchugger is a bit of a surprise, but I guess it's performing better than expected in Blizzard's database. Barber is clearly really strong from Rogue. Undercity Valiant has been a great card. No changes from Paladin, a little bit of a surprise. Like no Seal of Champions? Question mark? That's not too iconic. Mage and Rogue get some good cards cut, and suffice it to say, Shaman, Warlock, Druid, Warrior, Hunter in this last class get a few cards removed so that when class cards do show up, they tend to be the better ones. These are, for the most part, all cards you would never want to draft in Arena. For the most part. Some very small exceptions might exist, like Soul of the Forest is one that's being called out. Now, one might ask, why don't they just do the more elegant solution of moving some really powerful cards to like the rare quality, for example, Flame Strike, for example, Firelands Portal, and the basics of that are addressed here as well. Drafting by card rarity is another discussion that we've been hearing a lot. If it's a matter of balance, we're fairly confident the ability to adjust the weights of cards available can solve that. So the basics of that are that Blizzard might be able to implement some kind of system such that Flame Strike, for example, comes up at a lower rate than it usually does. And eventually that would mean that you could balance Arena and its win rates by making the really powerful cards show up less often for the stronger classes, and the really powerful cards for weaker classes show up more often, such as Dark Cultist, for example. They're putting in a stopgap measure here, a very quick fix using the tools they have available to them to make the less good classes slightly better by turning off really bad cards. But in the future, it seems like they're planning on looking at balancing the commonness of certain cards. For example, Firelands Portal, even though it's a common, might not even matter for rarity in the future because they decrease the drop rate of Firelands Portal in an arena pick down to some smaller number. Let's talk a little bit about a cool side note about how there's an actual arena prizes on one Hearthstone server of China. So 3 months ago, Blizzard China started publishing a 12-win arena leaderboard and gave out rewards for the top players. Now this is something that's cool and may eventually, and I hope, and I think is likely, will eventually make it to the US and Europe servers as well. Some way for Arena to have some kind of real reward, you know, past it just being fun. So it turns out that China has been publishing and will be publishing the Arena win rate rankings and those who have gotten the most number of 12 wins. It's kind of good that this system has been tested out over on the Chinese server, so that when it someday maybe rolls out over on the US, the Europe servers, that we get to showcase our best Arena players also. And then maybe I'll get heavier into Arena. And this has been your Arena News.